Go. There you go.
Have a day today, dog. Offense, great drive.
Go.
What's up?
1, 2, 3.
Welcome to Training Camp Live, presented by Atlantic Health System.
Alongside Eric Allen and Quincy Anunua, we have a great show for you in store tonight. We'll hear from Caroline Hendershot later. Guys, beautiful night for football. The humidity not quite what it was this afternoon, and expected to be a fantastic atmosphere, EA.
Perfect night, and we're situated in a great place here at MetLife Stadium because all the fans are coming right by us, and I'm by Jets royalty right now in Quincy and Anunua. Hopefully you can get through the show, Greens, because everybody's stopping by and saying, hey, Q, what's up?
I know. How do you know they're not saying hi to you? You've been here longer with the organization than Quincy.
Yeah, but I'm kind of flying under the radar next to this guy.
All right, well, we have a great show, like I said earlier. Let's just kick things off with our first whistle, all right? This is a lot of the rookies, probably is the rookies' first time at MetLife Stadium, a lot of the veterans' first time at MetLife Stadium as Jets. So, Quincy, obviously this is just a practice, what's going to go on in a couple minutes here. But from a player's perspective, with a night like this, with the fans royally or coming in, saying hi to the royalty, does this change anything from a player's perspective?
I say it definitely does. I think it gives you an opportunity to get a real game-like experience. You're in this stadium, you're going through the stretch lines, you get to see your locker for the first time. I think all of those different factors really make you kind of up your game just a little bit more. It's not a regular practice.
And for this guy right here, EA, Zack Wilson, so far through camp, I mean, what have you thought about, we'll talk about the quarterbacks later, but what have you thought of his performance, and what are you expecting tonight? Is this a heightened situation for somebody like him?
I might, not to sound redundant, but we're hearing the same thing from the coaching staff and the players, that he's got better command of the offense, that he's showing more leadership skills, that he's more comfortable, that he's going through his progressions a lot quicker. But this is, the green and white means that you are just getting to a point of training camp where you're about a week and a half in. You only have 3 preseason games. And for Wilson and company, as we look at Big George Fant, the Jets left tackle, here on a beautiful Saturday night, you have an opportunity in front of fans at your home stadium to go against that first-team defense and move the ball situations. Right. What we saw at practice this week was Wilson had some success inside the red zone. I know that really jumped out to Robert Saleh because the first-team offense had success in earlier practices getting into the red area, but then the drives had stalled. But what we saw on Wednesday was they were finishing with touchdowns.
Quincy, obviously the Jets have had open practices so far in training camp, but those happen at Florham Park. Playing in a situation like this in the stadium, is that different from a player's perspective?
Yeah, I would definitely say as a player, it's completely different. Like I said earlier, you know, just getting a chance to get into the locker room. This is a whole different environment. The fans feel it. You feel it. When you step on that field, you see the Jets on the end zone. I think it's really hard to compare to a regular practice. I think players know it. So when you get out here, you really have to change the way you perform.
And this guy right here, Jonathan Marshall, one of the second-year players for the Jets. This is a guy that I want to see in training camp because this is a guy who has an opportunity in a crowded defensive lineman room, specifically on the interior, to make some noise. And let's just set the stage here for a minute with the format of practice, because this is a competitive practice. We've talked about it. The practice is going to open up with a 7-on-7 period. Then you're going to have some one-on-ones during the 7-on-7 period. The Jets are going to have a first half, a halftime, a second half, and then the 2-minute period. So this really is, to both of your points, more of a game-like setting, more of a game-like practice. Quincy, when you see the format of today's practice, where do you go? Do you automatically go to 2 minutes? Is that where you're gravitating towards?
I think as a receiver, I'm running straight to 7-on-7. I think it's a great opportunity to make a lot of plays out there. And now you really get to hear the crowd in the stadium. It's a whole different sound. It's a whole different feeling. So it makes you want to make more plays. And I think that those guys are really going to try to up their game today.
EA, during the 7-on-7 period, offensive and defensive linemen, one-on-ones, what are you looking forward to there?
Well, the Jets' defensive line is one of the main storylines at camp because you're going to have to cut some very good players along that defensive line who are going to play on Sundays for another team. The depth is really great. We're looking at Quinnen Williams and Mekhi Becton.
Oh, yeah.
Have a great laugh.
Yeah.
You know, the guys are feeling good out here, but from left to right, Sheldon Rankin said the other day that the Jets' defensive line will not face a better offensive line in the regular season, and that really stood out to me. So the guy who I'm going to be looking out for more than anybody is the guy who had the most dominant training camp of all last year. That's Carl Lawson. Because if anything, the Jets have to hold this guy back because he's an athletic freak and he's got a great motor coming off that Achilles injury. He's raring to go.
And Robert Saleh said that the Jets are really the ones holding Carl Lawson back. It's not the other way around. It's not like he's not ready to get after opposing offensive linemen. Before we talk about what's to come tonight, let's just talk about training camp as a whole in terms of important dates, because there's some important dates like tonight that are coming up. We're really into the first 2 weeks of training camp now. After this, we're talking about the first preseason game less than a week away at Philadelphia against the Eagles. Then you get 2 joint practices with the Falcons before a night game against the Falcons here at MetLife. And then the Jets wrap things up with the Crosstown Giants. 1 joint practice at the Giants facility and then a home game for the Jets at MetLife Stadium Sunday at 1 p.m. So some very important dates coming up. But Quincy, when you hear that the third preseason game is a 1 o'clock game on a Sunday, is that really like a good dress rehearsal for the players?
Yeah, I would say so. I think it's definitely different from what we're used to, right? Like when I was playing, it was Thursday nights. There's a whole different environment. You know, you really don't even play on Thursday nights too often. So to play that Thursday night game is a completely different vibe. Now with the Sunday at 1, you really get to feel that game-like experience that you're going to feel just about every Sunday. So I think guys should really go into it prepared for that.
Yeah, and that's a great perspective from a former player, because bottom line, everything in life is about body clock. And I think it's great for the Jets to have the opportunity to have a 1 o'clock game to conclude the preseason. 2 weeks later, this place is going to be crazy when the Baltimore Ravens come to town on kickoff weekend.
You know, I'm curious, Quincy, from a player's perspective again, with like sleep and eat, when you have the ability to go through a Sunday 1 o'clock game at your home stadium, knowing that you're opening in this building Sunday 1 o'clock against the Baltimore Ravens September 11th, does that allow you to kind of get a feel, especially as a younger player, what that's going to be like?
Yeah, I think as a younger player, you definitely should think about that, because this is what you're going to have to get used to as the season goes along. I think it's hard, though, if you don't have a good veteran to kind of coach you up in those moments. I think you can get lost in the moment. So going forward, I think that it'll be awesome to just see these guys get prepared and really understand that this is how it's going to be during the season.
Right here, you can see 89 Jeremy Ruckert, the Long Island native, getting ready to play in front of his hometown fans. He grew up a Jets fan. We know this by now. This must be a really cool experience for him. It's a great night. And, you know, we talked about the format of practice. Well, the blueprint indicates a very competitive practice. And you know what? That's what this is about, training camp, competition. We've seen that at cornerback, specifically with Sauce Gardner and Bryce Hall. And for more on Bryce Hall, let's hear from Caroline Hendershot on the field. Caroline, what's going on?
Hey guys, I'm quite literally in the middle of the warm-up, so if there's a ball coming my way, will someone let me know, because I don't want to get hit in the head.
I don't know if we'll be able to see it.
You might not, but Ethan, as you were, CJ Uzama almost just walked in to say hi, but see, Ethan, as you were saying, Bryce Hall and Sauce Gardner have been alternating with those first-team reps at practice, and yesterday at practice, Bryce really came and showed what he was made of. He immediately broke up a deep ball from Zack Wilson and then was able to break up another pass that ended the drive in the move the ball drill later in practice. So he really came and showed out. And when I talked to him after practice, he said it's the DBs group as a whole. They're all making each other get better, and he loves that healthy competition, like you were saying. So we saw Bryce yesterday at practice. I'm assuming it's Sauce's turn for those first-team reps, but we're just going to have to wait and see.
Thanks, Caroline. And that guy that was on the screen for a second there, Robert Saleh, talked about the evolution of the cornerbacks on this roster is not knocking the ball down, but turning it over. Caroline alluded to it. The first play of practice, the three of us were there yesterday. Zack Wilson tries to dial up the launch codes to Jeff Smith. The ball's a little underthrown. Bryce Hall doesn't knock it down. He picks it off. So, EA, what have you seen in terms of the development from Bryce Hall, not just from a rookie to present, but really from last season, taking the most defensive snaps out of anybody on the team to training camp now?
Well, I'm going to defer to Quincy here in a second because I want to get his thought process on that, because where I think a lot of guys would be, they'd fall off here after a guy like Sauce Gardner was selected number 4 overall, knowing the situation. But I think, in fact, what we've seen from Bryce Hall here early in training camp is he stepped up his game, and I think that speaks to who he is as a person, who he is as a competitor. And
Right.
Q, I think this is going to make Sauce Gardner better.
Definitely. I think it's a testament to his character. You can tell he's got that dog in him. You know, anybody that can come in and knowing that there's a guy that was drafted in the first round ahead of you that might take your spot and can still compete at a high level. I mean, I'm happy that he got so much playing time last year. I think he was the top guy with the most snaps on the defensive side.
Yep.
So that really is a confidence booster for him. And I'm hoping that he keeps carrying that on through the season.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because my question to you, Quincy, was going to be, when you know not only that guy right there, Sauce Gardner, gets added with the 4th overall pick, the Jets also signed a high priority free agent in DJ Reed. So that cornerbacks room, yes, there's a lot of competition, but it's a business, right? So when you know Bryce Hall sees these moves, he's still approaching every practice with a true professionalism. And I think that rubs off on the guys. And Bryce Hall also, he has great size for someone at cornerback. So going up against somebody like that, Quincy, what challenges does that pose?
Yeah, I mean, just as a player, you know, just watching him as a player, you can tell that he has all the intangibles. You know, the guy with that size and also has the speed that he has, you know, to run with Jeff Smith. Jeff is one of the fastest guys on the team. So to run with him, get that pick the other day, it shows that his skills are continuing to improve, you know, and I'm happy for him. Then as a person, you know, like I said before, you can tell he has that dog in him. You know, he has 2 guys that came in that might take that spot from him, but he doesn't care about that. He wants to keep competing, keep performing, because he knows that every day that he puts it on film is an opportunity for him to take that spot.
And I would say that Ahmad Gardner is a stud.
Yeah.
You know,
we're going to Sauce right now.
Everything that we heard about in terms of his scouting report, he has been that and more early in camp. And veterans have talked about him in such a positive manner, not just his physical skill set. He's a big guy. He can turn. His hips are good. He can find the ball. He plays with that physicality that you love. But also, they say he's great in the classroom, and he's really acclimated himself to the NFL here in a hurry.
This is Mike Rutenberg, the Jets linebackers coach, for those who do not know, walking through the stretch lines right now, dapping up his guys at the linebacker position. But let's focus on Sauce, because you're absolutely right. He's come in, and really I think you could make the case for all the rookies. They've come in, they've occasionally taken first-team reps, and they haven't looked like they've been swimming, specifically Sauce, Garrett Wilson, Jermaine Johnson, and Bryce Hall. And with Sauce on the outside, that guy right there, Bryce Hall and Sauce alternate, like Caroline said. So we assume that Sauce Gardner will get the start. I'm putting air quotes up, the start in practice tonight because it's his night. But you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. It really hasn't felt like Sauce has gotten beat too many times, specifically deep, right, EA?
Right. Nobody's caught the ball. The ball has not gone over his head.
Right.
And Quincy, he's got such a great feel for the game, very instinctive player, and he plays with an edge, and I love that about him. What kind of challenges does he pose a receiver right at the line of scrimmage?
Well, I mean, he's long, right? And he also has some great mobility. So I think anytime that you play a guy like that, it's tough. A lot of times when you see a long corner, they're not able to move very well, but I'm seeing him be very patient. You know, he's not letting guys make too many moves on him and jumping on that first move. So that's amazing to see as a young guy, a rookie. You know, I'm hoping to see him continue to improve on that. Then with that, he has his size as well. So it's hard to get around a guy like that. When you have those long arms, he can grab you no matter where you go. So he has gotten a little grabby in practice, but that's normal, right? We just got the pads. You're getting used to it. You're getting that feel. But I think as he keeps continuing to go, he'll start to move his feet a little more, and we'll see more improvements.
How would you try to attack him?
That's tough. You know, I think one thing that I saw that I learned from Brandon Marshall is when you get those big guys, it's good to be physical with them just to see how they're going to perform against that. I think that the smaller guys might be a challenge. It all depends on how patient he's going to be at the line. So I'm curious to see how he does today in the one-on-ones.
I want to know your perspective on this, Quincy. Guy like Sauce Gardner, 4th overall pick, with a nickname Sauce. No one calls him Ahmad, right? If you're on this
team. The players
team,
call him Ahmad.
Okay, fine.
They do.
So, Sauce, right? He's got the grills.
Right.
Like, what are you expecting out of him from day one? Like, are you teasing him about it, or you just think, like, you got to live up to the name, and that's that?
I think you got to live up to the name. Honestly, like, when you see those first-round draft pick guys, you know that they have a lot of hype behind them. They have a lot of confidence behind them. Anytime you're drafting at that level, you're going to have a certain swagger. You're going to carry a certain swagger. So I think that he does it well. He's performing. He did a lot of great things in college. So as a player on the team with him, I would hope that he would continue to move that, continue to perform like that on the team. If he doesn't, then that's where you might be called Ahmad and no more Sauce.
What is everybody's favorite sauce on set right now?
Oh.
EA's going buffalo sauce for sure, right?
Oh, yeah.
Hot buffalo sauce.
Yeah, I need something spicy.
What about you,
That's
Quincy?
tough. It depends on what I'm eating, but I would probably go like a honey mustard or something.
Okay, yeah, honey mustard. I think ranch is pretty versatile.
Yeah, I can say that.
Yeah, but Q was just eating French fries. He didn't put anything on his French fries. Nothing.
Yeah, I know. You could go ranch with French fries.
I'd go ketchup with the French fries, but I didn't want to add too many carbs. We were talking about the keto diet.
You go blue cheese or ranch?
Oh, I go blue cheese, man.
Yeah, I'm the minority on set. I don't like blue cheese.
Yeah.
If I did, I would. I can't do it. It's moldy cheese. Why am I going to ingest moldy cheese? That's not for me.
So we got a member of our crew talking about the keto diet. He said he feels like 20 years old right now.
I know.
Right.
I know. We might have
Back
to
in
get
time.
involved,
Get
right?
the flex. I love it.
You know what they say? Hamburger a day keeps the doctor away. That's a red meat hamburger, too, not a turkey burger. But anyway, all right, let me tell you about this real quick because we're in MetLife Stadium again. The season opener, September 11th. But this season, you can take advantage of new ticket mini plan offerings to lock in great lower level seats starting at just $120 per game. Catch 7 or 3 games at MetLife Stadium, plus receive exclusive benefits. For more information and to select your plan, visit nyjets.com/miniplan. So we're talking about the lights right now. The sun is still up. It'll be up for a little while longer. But the bright lights of MetLife Stadium, they're shining a little extra on somebody that EA mentioned earlier. That's Carl Lawson for our camp spotlight tonight. Robert Saleh said that they've been holding him back a little bit. But this must be a really cool feeling for him, EA, knowing that the last time that he was playing in front of fans like this, in a stadium like this, was last preseason before his season ended in Green Bay.
Right, and for him, it's just a process. For the Jets, you just want to get him to week 1. And Robert Saleh, he's going to take the blame, the brunt of it from Carl Lawson. Because if it was up to Lawson, he would take every rep on the field tonight. The Jets are just going to have to hold him back. And we saw him flash, I believe it was in Wednesday and Friday's practice, where he was getting in around the quarterback. We can't say for sure these were sacks, but guys are buzzing around the tower, and you're seeing 58 buzz around the tower with those reps, and he's going to create more opportunities for guys around him.
Quincy, how does Carl Lawson change the complexity of what Jeff Ulbrich wants to do on the defensive side?
Yeah, I think as a player, you bring in a dynamic pass rusher, a guy that's going to get some pressures. But what I'm most excited about, just seeing how he recovers from these injuries. As a guy that had to battle injuries, I know how difficult it is, but I also know that there's a fire that you have when you come back on the field. He had an injury in 2018. You saw the following 2 seasons he performed well. That's the reason why he's here now. So I'm excited to see what he does after that.
He's also very physically impressive. I mean,
right.
Was your first time seeing Carl Lawson up close and personal this couple weeks ago in training camp?
Yeah, I think we might have played him. When he was with the Bengals. But he definitely looks bigger now.
This guy's a freak of nature.
And he's a student of the game. And that's something you got to really...
Wait. What do you think about this? He's not going shirtless under the pads?
I did it at Nebraska. That's the way to go. That's how you know you're feeling pretty confident, When you let the belly hang out.
But you didn't do it in the pros, just in Nebraska?
Well, you know what? When I got to the pros, it was more of me trying to gain the the level to feel like it was okay to do that.
Okay.
Well, you can't do that when you're playing a game.
Yeah.
The uniform police will get you.
That's the Ezekiel Elliott.
Yeah, you can pull that. You can pull that off here at the green and white practice.
Right.
Yeah, of course you could. Yeah, well, I think Carl doesn't really enjoy, one, the heat maybe, or two, T-shirts, because every time he does a media availability, he's wearing the
crop top.
Old
school, man. He's old school. I'm telling you, that's Nebraska, hard nose. I know he's not a Nebraska guy, but that's what I know of.
He played at Auburn. Come on, he's used to the heat. He don't mind the heat.
Yeah, well, maybe he minds it, or maybe it's just an excuse to take his shirt off. Because if I look like that, my shirt would not be on a lot of the time.
Carl Lawson has never had a workout that he didn't love.
Yeah, I'm sure.
All right, so look, NFL Network has you covered with insider access across all 32 teams. All-day coverage continues this week inside training camp, only on NFL Network. The crowd behind us right now is buzzing. I'm not quite sure what's going on other than C.J. Mosley talking up the guys at midfield. We can see the big ticket. We see Jermaine Johnson, Sauce Gardner, but MetLife is roaring right now on August 6th, and you love to see that, all right?
Well, remember Mosley last year. Was it last year at the green and white? Right?
What? I don't know what you're going to say.
Remember Mosley's performance last year at the green and white?
Oh,
had a
his
green and white
performance.
practice. Guy was all over the place.
Yeah. I thought
because a lot of people were wondering, hey, what is C.J. Mosley going to look like after 2 years away? And he had a night. So Mosley made his mark. He set the tone for what he was going to be in the 2021 season. And when he just brought everybody in right there, I don't know what the hell he was saying, but I'm ready to get out there and play.
All right, well, let's flip sides of the ball here. We've neglected to talk about the wide receivers with Quincy on the show. So we apologize, but it's time, right? We're saving the ace in the pocket now. This receiving core obviously has gotten a big facelift throughout the course of the offseason with the health, first of all, like of Corey Davis coming back from injury. Definitely. And then after that, you add guys like Garrett Wilson. But what have you made of this receiving core after watching them practice for the last 2 weeks?
Yeah, I'm excited to see what they do this year. I mean, they got guys. I mean, we talk about the top guys all the time, right? But there's also guys underneath that are making a lot of plays, right? We got Rashard, we got Irvin Charles, we got these guys making plays left and right. So, I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do today. As far as our first, our receiver that we drafted this year, Garrett Wilson, that guy's dynamic. We saw the one-handed catch he made in practice. We saw him making a few plays in practice. I'm just excited to see how we put it all together because these are a lot of different receivers that have so many different skill sets that I'm sure it's tough to figure out how to get these guys the ball, but I'm looking forward to seeing what we do.
In terms of the speed dynamic for this Jets team, EA, we know that Mike LaFleur wanted to run a little bit of vertical or sideways, little lateral movement. We've seen that with Braxton Berrios last year. When you add a guy like Garrett Wilson, sub 4.4 speed, you get Corey back. Maybe not the biggest burner on the team, but definitely is a big body. Then you get Elijah Moore speed. Entering year 2 for a lot of these guys, how much more dynamic do you think this allows Mike LaFleur to be, knowing that most guys have a good understanding of the system?
Man, it is a great point, and I don't think we probably highlight that enough, that this roster is so much more athletic. It's so much faster on both sides of the ball than what we've been accustomed seeing in the past. You talk about the skill position players. Elijah Moore is quick, but he's got sub 4.4 speed as well getting down the field. You're talking about Garrett Wilson, who can jump through the gym, but he is a sub 4.4 guy who's dynamic and tough after the catch. Jeff Smith is a guy who, when Quincy was talking about the depth of the wide receiver position, another sub 4.4 guy. Corey Davis gives you that big body on the outside as well. He's just a smooth player, a good route runner, and a guy who really had good chemistry with Zack Wilson early last season. Then on the offensive backfield, Michael Carter, he's a spark plug. And then you bring in Breece Hall. Breece Hall is another guy who's sub 4.4. So when you're looking at the Jets, specifically when we're talking about the offensive side of the ball, they got guys who can take a short pass or a handoff and go a long way, and you need that in today's NFL.
Quincy, so in training camp, we've seen guys like Irvin Charles, Rashard Davis. You mentioned both of those guys. Both those guys have made plays throughout camp, and they flashed at times. How do you go from flashing at camp to actually carving out a role for yourself and making the 53-man roster? Like, what do you need to do to bridge that gap and not just be like, oh, you know what, this guy made a couple nice plays and, you know, we'll see where the chips fall?
Right. I feel like that's the most challenging thing. You know, as a young guy, as a guy that's new to the team, a guy that's learning the offense, I think the most challenging thing is to figure out how can I make these plays consistently. You're not going to get many opportunities because they're going to give a lot of those to the head guys, the front guys. So once the preseason comes, once the green and white scrimmage comes, these are the times for you to make those plays, for you to really go out there and do the small things, making a big block, making a small catch, you know, here and there. You know, just trying to figure out every little thing that you can do to kind of stack up as many plays as you can to really get on the coach's good side.
Yeah, we were just seeing Tico out there. Tevin Coleman, he's another guy who can wheel and deal. Barrios is kind of a versatile player who can do everything for you. There's no doubt about that. But, you know, speaking of taking advantage of your opportunities, I'll go back to SUNY Cortland and a young receiver by the name of Quincy Anunua. I remember him getting a couple opportunities against Darrell Rivas, and one time he made a catch. And at that point, I said, this kid's got a chance. Yeah, you had a good career at Nebraska, but a late round pick.
Right.
And then he's going against the best cornerback in the league. And Quincy made a catch, and I'm like, wow, that's really saying something. So these guys, few and far between where guys down the depth chart get that opportunity against to go against a number one. But when you do and you cash in, you're going to turn some heads.
Exactly. And I think that's the biggest thing. And I think that all these guys are prepared for the lights, so I'm hoping that when they're going up against a Sauce Gardner, all these great cornerbacks we have, they're taking advantage of those opportunities because they're very slim, right? You don't get too many in training camp. As long as training camp is, you really don't get too many opportunities to make a lot of plays. So you got to take advantage of the plays that you have.
All right, so let's talk about the guys that are throwing the aforementioned wide receivers, the football. We talked a little bit about Zack Wilson earlier. The Jets have 4 quarterbacks on their roster. They have Zack Wilson, Joe Flacco, Mike White. Chris Streveler is the 4th and final quarterback. He's not received many team reps, if at all, but he gets a lot of work in individual. I'm sure he'll play during the preseason as well.
He does some special teams.
And special teams reps as well. But this guy right here, we've talked about him before, this group. What do you think it is, EA, for Saleh to come out and say, and basically give a vote of approval for not just Zack Wilson, but who's behind them too, Joe Flacco and Mike White, because the Jets really do like all 3 quarterbacks on their roster.
Well, I like the dynamics. Think about what happened last year when Zack Wilson went down in New England and we saw Mike White and Josh Johnson get those reps. And it was that Cincinnati game where the offense really exploded. Oh, by the way, Cincinnati's coming here in week 3. I can't wait for that matchup. But he was able to take a step back and watch veterans operate the offense. And then we saw Zack come back down the stretch, and he was a different player, especially protecting the football. But what those guys did and what the veterans do, if it's not there down the field, Q, and you've talked about it before, take your checkdowns. Right. And I think we started to see progress from Zack in that category last year, knowing that, hey, I don't have to hit the 50-yard go all the time.
Right, yeah, exactly. I think that's the most challenging thing. You know, coming in as a top draft pick, you have that confidence boost. You know, you think you're the man. You know you're the man, right? So you want to make those big plays. But I think ultimately it's about the team. You got to do what's best for the team. And it takes a little bit of a maturation process. But I think he's going through that. You know, when he had that injury and he came back, he realized this is where I need to start doing better. And you saw that on the field. I'm hoping to continue to see that during training camp, you know.
Zack Wilson last season talked about the dynamic between him and Joe Flacco, not even in terms of dialogue, but just being able to see Joe Flacco go through a week of preparation and almost learn from that just through osmosis. Quincy, for you often talk about Brandon Marshall. To be able to see a veteran in your position to succeed at a high level, Joe Flacco, Super Bowl MVP, Brandon Marshall, a fantastic wide receiver. In your case, what does that allow you to do, and how much do you really learn just by watching as opposed to by dialect?
Yeah, I think it's important in any field that you do, outside of football even, just to have a mentor. So, you know, for these guys to have Joe Flacco, a Super Bowl winning quarterback, a guy that's had a lot of success, to be able to follow behind him, watch what he's doing, watch how he prepares. That's important, and I think they're taking notes. I think he's really realizing, like, okay, this is what I need to do to become a great quarterback in this league.
Cool Joe. He knows this offensive system. I also like that he worked with Jets quarterbacks coach Rob Calabrese in Denver, and one of his best games last year, I think, I'd go back, I'd get your thoughts on this, Ethan. The Miami game, I thought he played really well. Definitely. And that was one of those times where we saw Elijah Moore explode, and we saw him really take off in that middle stretch.
Yeah, Elijah Moore had that 60-plus yard catch and run, beat Xavier Howard. Xavier Howard's one of the premier cornerbacks in the NFL, and to see Elijah Moore do that, I mean, Joe Flacco really did play well that game, and I feel like the Elijah Moore, Zack Wilson dynamic, it started so strong last training camp, and then it always kind of felt like they were out of sync in the beginning of the season. Then Zack Wilson comes back, and you start to see that chemistry develop a little more. In 2022 coming up, I think Jets fans are really excited, specifically about 2 to 8.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. It could be one of the most exciting combinations in the NFL. Let's hope so, from a Jets fan perspective. I wanted to ask you about Flacco in terms of what he can provide in the meeting room. Not just on the field, and that's a guy you can bounce things off of, and he was able to watch him last year, but the guy being able to play against every possible defense out there.
Yeah, I think that's important. We were talking the other day about watching film. I think that's the most challenging thing about getting into NFL. A lot of times you get hooked on watching certain players just because, you grew up watching them, so you're excited to see them, but you really got to make sure you're honing in on the details. And it takes a good mentor, a good vet, knowing what you need to be looking at to really coach you through that. So I think there's no way that Joe's not doing that in the meeting rooms, telling him what he should be looking out for, showing him the different defenses that he might go up against. So, I'm excited to know that, he had somebody like that for him.
And, hey, guys, how many quarterbacks are the Jets going to have in the opening day roster, Greens? You keeping 3 inactive?
See, I think this is one of the best questions because, first of all, I'm a big numbers guy. Like in terms of jersey numbers, Quincy, try to figure out who's going to wear what.
Gotcha.
You would imagine Garrett Wilson would want to wear 5. Well, if the Jets keep Mike White on the roster and they don't try to P-squad him, then 5 is either not up for grabs or it is, depending on what the Jets do. But the Jets really like Mike White and Joe Flacco.
Right.
So I think this is I think it's going to be interesting. I don't have a gut feeling right now. My guess is 3 because they like him and they don't want to lose one of the guys.
Right. If you try to stash somebody on practice squad, especially a quarterback,
yeah. It's tough. And, Mike White made some plays last year. Somebody might be looking out for him. So if you do that, you know that you're risking something.
All right, so this is the green and white practice. We are Training Camp Live, presented by Atlantic Health. Ethan Greenberg, Eric Allen, Quincy Anunua, Caroline Hendershot down on the field. We're talking about, well, first of all, this is one-on-ones right here. But I want to know, before we show some of that.
Sorry, I just wasn't watching Carl Lawson there.
Sorry, yeah, we cut you off. That's all right. So, Caroline, we're going to start with you, and then we're going to go Quincy, EA, then me. The player that you have your eye on more than anybody else in tonight's practice is who?
I gotta be honest, I hate picking favorites, but if I'm going to pick a favorite that I'm watching tonight, it's gotta be Jordan Whitehead. After practice yesterday, and Coach Sala and CJ Mosley all raving about him, I could not get over how the excitement was so palpable for him. So I have my eye on Whitehead.
What about you, Quincy?
Oh man, I got a shocker here. I listened to him talk yesterday, and I want to see Denzel Mims. He said that he's done a lot of improvement this year. He said that the sickness last year kind of held him back, and he's excited to see, what he can show on the field. So I really want to see him with his technique. I want to see his effort. I want to see all those different things to really know that he's really putting in that work.
What about you, EA?
I got a cheat code for you. I'm going Ahmad Gardner, and I'm hoping that allows me to see some of the aforementioned number 17, Garrett Wilson. I'd love to see those rookies be matched up. The 2 first-round picks, number 4 and number 10 overall. But Gardner is a guy I'm going to be fascinated just to watch as we see ones versus ones.
Right.
And how much does Wilson go the Zack Wilson go to his side of the field.
Yeah, I think the obvious answer for me here is Zack Wilson, but I'm going with the receivers to Quincy again. I'm going with Corey Davis because he's somebody, in my opinion, who's really flashed in the early parts of camp, and I think in front of fans tonight, I think will kind of remind fans, assuming he has a good practice, like, hey guys, I was 16 yards short of 1,000 yards my last year in Tennessee. I was on pace for 1,000 yards last season before I got hurt, and he was Zack Wilson's security blanket. That was a great move, by the way, from Jermaine Johnson. So I got my eyes on Corey Davis, and we're taking a look right now at the one-on-ones here in practice. This is Bryce Huff going up against Chuma Edoga. Coach Sala really likes Bryce Huff, EA, and really likes the bend that he has.
Yeah, listen, the Jets are going to be scary. I said that. I really believe that. They're going to be scary in much-passing situations for other teams. If the Jets can win on early downs, they're going to unleash some beasts against opposing offensive lines. And the thing that you really like about this defensive line this year, Q, is the strength in numbers. You're going to get guys out so that they are fresh in the fourth quarter. Anytime anybody is inserted into the lineup, they're not going to hold back anything in reserve. You have that kind of strength in numbers this year.
Right. Yeah, and it's important. I think, you lost a guy in Foley last year, but to know that there's no drop-off. You have so many guys behind that can continue to play. And at D-line, that's one of those positions that those guys can get pretty tired. So if you have somebody that can give you a breather that can still perform at that same level, I mean, it's going to be hard for opposing O-lines.
Huff is very explosive, and Jacob Martin is kind of a guy, right, Ethan, that might be flying a little bit under the radar so far in camp, but you wrote about this the other day. I liked his approach. Said, I'm a total package. I can do a little bit of everything.
Yeah, Jacob Martin feels like he's been miscategorized as a situational pass rusher throughout his career. Actually, Quincy, his brother, Josh Martin, your former teammate. Did you know Jacob at all?
No, I didn't know him. I didn't know him. I knew of him. It's cool to see this guy back. It's also cool, rest in peace to Titus, but Corey Davis, his brother, I played with him as well. So it's cool to see these guys, the legacy, able to play on their brothers' teams.
So for this O-line, D-line drill, talking about Jacob Martin, we haven't seen him yet.
Who we got here? 54. We got Elijah Bear-Tucker over here at the right guard position.
Yeah, that's AVT, and inside it looks like Tanzel Smart, number 79 right there, the Tulane product. Tanzel Smart has a foodie TikTok, by the way, so be aware of that. That's Hamaka Rashid Jr. against the Big Ticket.
Big Ticket, yep.
Yeah, that's right. So
he gets his hands on you. It's going to be tough to get around him. He's such a massive human being.
Definitely. I got to say, I like offensive line, D-line, O-line, D-line one-on-ones, but I'm really a D-line guy. I tell all my high school guys that D-line is really just receiver, just bigger. If you think about it, O-line, they're backing up just like corners. They're at a disadvantage. The D-line should win every time.
Oh, you really think that?
Oh, I believe it. I mean, and the D-line, honestly, to me, they're the best athletes on the field.
That was a nice move by Jonathan Marshall.
Yeah,
you
baby elephant. That's what they call him, baby elephant. That's how I believe the horn ends our show as well. So that's how we're going to wrap up here on Training Camp Live, presented by Atlantic Health. Caroline Hendershot, great job bringing the juice from the field. Quincy, EA. You got any parting words?
Yeah.
EA looks like he's rearing up for something.
No, I know fans are going to get mad at you, Greens, because we're signing off. But here's the thing. The digital team and the social team are going to provide highlights throughout the night. Come back to NewYorkJets.com. Most teams in the National Football League who have practices like this, they don't broadcast them. And that even includes colleges if you go that far. So
and also,
this
while
is
we're
not
at it,
atypical.
You want to come to MetLife? 2 more preseason games, and then September 11th, Week 1 against the Baltimore Ravens. That's how we sign off, but we will be back live from Florham Park on Monday. Everyone have a nice weekend.